We welcome you into episode 9 of the best podcast available. I'm Jason Gibbs alongside Andrew Gribble. After what has been a crazy 36 plus hours, Gribbs, we did have practice on the football field today, and it was a day, unfortunately, where the injuries once again took center stage and back in a big way, unfortunately. Gribbs, the latest on what's going on with Grant Delpit, who left practice today, Greedy Williams, who left practice today, MJ Stewart, another corner, Money Mitch wasn't on the field today. Any updates that you can give us, compliments of our PR staff?
Yeah, the closest thing we have to an update is what we assumed with Grant Delpit. He went down during an individual period early in practice today, non-contact, it looks like, and describing it as an Achilles injury, and he's undergoing further testing. And I know the word Achilles can be a scary one, and that's because it's usually associated with pretty serious injuries. So hoping for the best for Grant, but it was the first in a string of injuries today, and clearly Greedy Williams I believe happened during a tackling drill. His was a shoulder injury. He walked off with trainers shortly after that. And then MJ Stewart at some point hurt the hamstring, and he was watching practice with an ice bag kind of wrapped around that hamstring for the rest of it. So 3 guys who really, if they had stayed healthy in today's practice, all 3 of them would have been on your first team defense, because Carl Joseph was not practicing today. This was an off day for him. So Delpit would typically fill in for Joseph with the first team defense. Greedy Williams obviously is a starter at the corner. And MJ Stewart had emerged as a starter in the slot. And all those guys were missing. And you mentioned Terrence Mitchell. We don't know the severity of his injury. He just wasn't at practice today. So the depth was tested in a big way. And at one point in practice, you had guys like Elijah Benton, the undrafted rookie. He was your one of your starting safeties at that point. Donovan Alumba, he was basically at Greedy's spot the rest of practice. And then even Tavier Thomas was filling in at the slot at times along with Donnie Lewis. So a lot of names fans aren't too familiar with, but based on the severity of these injuries, could be getting familiar with them in a hurry over these next few days.
Yeah, even at linebacker, Solomon Ajayi, we saw him leave practice at the end.
That one's heat, though, so it should be good to be back tomorrow.
Good. I'm very glad to hear that right now, because with Ogunjobi out too, it was kind of a pull out your roster card and let's figure out who's who in that backfield. You know, you mentioned Carl Joseph. You know, they're slowly working him back, but right now your safety room, which looked pretty darn good, I think at the beginning of all this, now has Sheldrick Redwine, who's gotten some reps and had a nice little off season from a virtual standpoint and has done and said all the right things. And then you got Sendejo, and really that's it. Now, Joseph, you expect to be back for the start of the season, but depth right now at the safety spot, not exactly plentiful.
Yeah, because the other 3 guys in the room right now are Elijah Benton and Javante Moffitt, 2 undrafted rookies. And then you've got JT Hassel, who saw the field a little bit last year, but not a ton. So it'll be interesting to see once we learn about the extent of Delpit's injury. What do you do from a free agent standpoint? What do you do from looking around the league, trades you could potentially make? Because we saw the move be made to bring in a Malcolm Smith at linebacker in the wake of Mac Fulson's injury. So that was a pretty significant move. Malcolm Smith was available, so he's going to be fighting for a roster spot just like everyone else. But it's a little different than bringing in a random tryout guy. I mean, this is a guy that won Super Bowl MVP a few years ago. I mean, so you wonder what's out there, what's available. But like with all these COVID protocols and everything like that, it's going to take a few days. I wouldn't expect anything in a hurry, and you're going to have to kind of just plan out what you can do at that defensive backfield and who you realistically think can be ready to go for that opener.
You know, we talked about Donnie Lewis Jr. getting some snaps last year, late round pick for the Browns. Another guy that was getting some snaps and some meaningful snaps on that defensive line, Jordan Elliott, was in there with Sheldon Richardson, Myles Garrett, and Olivier Vernon. Pretty nice little group to learn from if you're the young rookie.
Yeah, I mean, he's been basically starting on that defensive line since what was Larry's injury, day 2 maybe. So he's getting thrown into the fire right away, and he's holding his own. And I think Larry had some really nice things to say about Jordan. And he's going to play. And I think that this is going to be some good experience for him. You're hoping to have Larry back sometime soon. But I think you're feeling pretty good about that defensive line, which, ironically last year, that was the group that was basically gone by the end of the year last year because of all the injuries and issues. Right now, it's basically your most healthy group on the defense right now. They're the stabilizing force, and they by far, we knew that they would probably be the strongest unit on defense, and right now they're definitely your strongest and deepest group on that defensive unit.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Malcolm Smith, we talked about, added to the roster, and he was in pads today and taking part in practice. The fact we did have a practice, Gribbs, we were supposed to have a practice on Sunday, and I got a phone call, and I assumed that maybe we were moving practice up because there was a chance of rain. No, we were not doing that. We were not practicing. Just an absolute crazy, crazy day. 77 false positives from 11 different teams. The Browns were one of them. The building went on shutdown. Guys came back yesterday, did have a practice at the end of the day, led by Joe Woods, because Kevin Stefanski was one of the gentlemen who tested positive under those false positives. So an absolute crazy day, and yet the team still able to do something on the field on Sunday. Not a lot, and it led into Monday with about 20 guys still, or I'm sorry, I think it was 12 guys with 20 minutes before practice finally cleared to go in and practice today. But just a crazy, crazy time. And as Alex Van Pelt said, a heck of a dry run on a worst case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it was not an ideal scenario. I mean, you're already down on practice time, and you're thinking like this team needs every minute it can get on the field. But then you go back into your head for what were the thoughts racing through Kevin Stefanski's head and everyone else during those few hours when you didn't know if this was a testing irregularity, when you were under the impression, oh wow, this could shut things down for more than just a few hours. And so it's good that this turned out to be much ado about nothing. You lose a day of work, but clearly the NFL went from thinking it had 77 positive tests to 0. And as they earlier today touted out their numbers, the NFL had no positive tests from players between the weeks of August 12th and August 20th, and only 6 positives among staffers league-wide. And I think that clearly this incident was not great, and I think that the bioreference laboratories would love to have this for it not to happen. But at the same time, I think the NFL clearly exceeding, I would say, its expectations with the COVID protocols so far. And every day it's a knock on wood with just you want to keep these numbers low. But as of us taping this right now, only 3 players in the entire league are on the COVID list. So, I mean, that's about much better than probably a lot of people expected, creating kind of these makeshift bubbles and really it's responsible behavior and following the protocols when you're in these buildings. And I think a lot of teams are doing that. And I think, during those moments when the Browns were learning of the information of this, they had to be wondering, like, how did this happen? It's like we're doing everything right, but it also makes you, I think at the same time as Stefanski said, it makes you realize there's 2 things. You don't want to get this and you don't want to give it to someone. And all those thoughts come racing when you have a moment like you did on Sunday morning.
Yeah, well, Alex Van Pelt said it today when he talked to the media. He said the first thing I thought of was my in-laws were in town for a day visiting us, and he said, do I need to call them right now and quarantine them? Like, I mean, yeah. They're my in-laws. They're a little bit older. Like, what do I do here? And I think we all had that moment where it was, okay, this is the situation. What's next, and what's the future going to hold here as we go? I think we all had that moment. We just talked about it before we even started recording this with Jeff McDaniel and you and I. I mean, it was definitely something a little scary, a little confusing, and you're just not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, but ultimately we're back in the building. I never, if you had asked me on Sunday morning if I was going to be back in the building Monday morning, I would have told you you're crazy. But back in the building, ready to go. Got my temperature taken, had my mask on. We're all following all the protocols.
We are indeed. All right, we did have a practice today, Gribbs. Biggest takeaways outside of the injuries for this practice?
I thought it started off really well for the offense. It seemed like they were moving at a good pace, some good completions. Nick Chubb was awesome. I mean, just he was running the ball really well, breaking off a handful of big gains. And then I just think that you hit kind of those moments where we've seen before with the offense where it's just not clicking or you're working through a few things and things weren't just moving as well. I think that one of the best highlights of the practice came near the end. They were running a goal line drill, and Baker finds Harrison Bryant in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, the guy is just everywhere, and he's making the most of some starting opportunities right now that with David Njoku sidelined. So that was a good moment for the offense, but kind of just an uneven day. And I think that it'll be interesting to see how the group bounces back tomorrow and how physical they are tomorrow with a quick turnaround and all those things. But we did see the first dose of kind of a hurry up offense, 2-minute drill type settings. And again, like everything we've seen, it's been kind of mixed results, and then hopefully you come back and are better tomorrow.
Yeah, everybody will be back in the building, and it'll be, knock on wood, business as usual. That's a look at what went down today at Cleveland Browns training camp practice. Right now, time for our interview of the day, and it's with Larry Ogunjobi. And now Ogunjobi's been banged up a little bit, but we all know what Larry can do, and we know the offseason that he had in terms of getting ready for this. Gibbs, I know you had a few minutes to talk with him, so with that, have a watch and have a listen.
All right, we're joined by Larry Ogunjobi, and Larry, just looking at this first week plus of camp, how have you felt about just the installation of everything and how everything's been going?
I think it's going well. Things have been firing on all cylinders for the most part. The guys are really coming together on offense and on defense. Guys are playing really well, playing really fast. And you can just see that chemistry and that camaraderie just, kind of gelling together now that we're kind of getting to the dog days of camp. So, starting to see guys really get comfortable in their positions and what they have to do in their assignments, understanding the playbook and things like that. So you can definitely start to see how it's translating on the field. People are getting a lot more comfortable in what they got to do, and it's showing.
And what's it been like coming back to a defensive line that really, for the main guys, it's all the same from last year? And how much has that helped going into year two as this group together?
It helps just because, you kind of know the guys already. You kind of know how each guy rushes, how each guy plays, kind of start playing off each other, kind of understanding, like, what does this guy do well, what does he doesn't do well, things of that nature, and just play off each other's strengths and then cover each other's weaknesses. So when you go into year two with the same group, it kind of just makes things easier because now you kind of know how each guy operates. And like I said, I've been with Miles since we got drafted. So I already kind of know how he rushes, how he likes to, go about his business. So, and then, with Sheldon and OV, it's kind of the same way now, getting to understand them over OV all season. So just being able to kind of understand these guys and understand how we can all work together. Because rushing is, it's an art form, but it's also, you got to rush together. So.
And for you personally, saw some of the workout stuff you did in the off season. What was your focus with getting into probably what's been the best shape you've been in since you've been with the team?
It's just that want to be great. You feel me? Like, you just, like, at a certain point in your career, it's like you want to get over that hump. You want to take it to the next level. You want to showcase what you can truly and what you feel that you can do. So I just go into every off season trying to be better than I was before. And this off season, I feel like it was one of my best ones, if not the best one, just because of my just attention to detail, the level of training I was doing, the people I was around, just the overall just focus and just the ability to just get it done and working on all the things that I didn't do so well and being able to master those things and just being more comfortable in myself and what I'm doing. So I'm really excited for the season. I just can't wait.
What did you do differently, and how did you have to adjust based on all the restrictions?
I just, I got a new trainer, worked on a lot of balance, mobility, core, all the intrinsic muscles that, we don't really think about, just working on just being a better athlete. You feel me? Like, the football thing, we're going to do that every day. But when you become a better athlete, you become faster, quicker, stronger, more tuned, just to understand things that are going on. It just helps you become an overall better player. So that was the biggest thing of my offseason. I was just trying to get my strength up, trying to get my speed up, trying to get my quickness, my agility, my core, and I did that. So I feel really good, coming into camp. So I'm ready.
From our perspective, it looks like Sheldon's the same way too, isn't he?
Yeah.
What's it been like seeing him? Just it seems like he's in some great shape too, just out there. What's that?
Just means he's focused. He's ready. He came in and he says he wants to have the best, season of his career. So I believe that. So just got to come out there and do it. He looks great. He's feeling great. He's lighter than he was last year, and he's moving a lot better. So I'm just excited.
And what's it been like with your new D-line coach, Chris Kiffin, especially him coming from San Francisco with what they were able to do on the defensive line last year?
I think it's a blessing, to be honest. He's a guy that, just makes it make sense. I tell him that all the time. I'm really appreciative of him being here just because, like, a lot of times you may have coaches that kind of tell you things and then there's no real, like, there's a vision, but there's no roadmap per se. But Coach Kiffin and JG, Jeremy Garrett, they do a great job of just making it make sense. You feel me? Like, they know how to, apply certain things to football, outside of football, and just make it make sense to you. You understand why you're doing something, how it works, how the whole defense works together as a whole, and it just makes you understand the overall picture better. So they do a great job of making it make sense. And when you got a guy like that, and when you start learning about your coaches and their history and their background and why they do what they do, it makes it way easier to play for them. So,
how have you seen Jordan adapt to his new surroundings here in kind of a unique situation for a rookie?
He's doing great. I'm very impressed with him just by his his attitude, his overall demeanor, just what he wants to do. He wants to play, he wants to be great, and you see that in everything he does. As far as he asks questions, he wants to learn. He has the attitude that you don't really see a lot of times from other rookies. Like, he's just one of the guys. He just wants to be out there. He wants to get better. He wants to learn. And when you see that, it makes you like yeah, all right, like, let's do it. Let's get better. Let's help you get better. Let's teach you. Let's tell you the things you got to learn. And he just makes it easy. Like, he's a really cool rookie for sure.
And how are you getting yourself ready to go without preseason games? What's the mindset that you have to have over these next 2.5 weeks to really be ready to go game one against one of the best teams in the NFL?
You just got to attack. You have to, each and every practice, you just have to know that I think we got 20 days left until kickoff. And it's just one of those things where you know that there's no wasted days. Every day you have to find a way to get better, whether it's in your craft, whether it's in your performance, whether it's in your just IQ, your football IQ. You just have to find ways to get better because the clock is ticking. So, it's a different season for everybody, all these extenuous circumstances and, the trying times with the virus and whatnot. But I think the biggest thing is just really just taking it one day at a time and just maximizing each and every day.
Cool. Well, Larry, I really appreciate you joining us and good luck out there in practice today.
Appreciate it. Thanks, big guy.
All right, Gribbs, a good interview with Larry Ogunjobi, a good few minutes, and we appreciate his time as he works his way back. I think he's getting better every day. I feel like he could probably maybe go if it were the season, but right now there's no sense and no need to rush him back, especially with all the other injuries that are currently happening on the defensive side of the football. Your takeaways from Larry Ogunjobi and your interview with him today?
Well, I think the things that it was more about what he said about two of his teammates. I think when I asked him about Sheldon Richardson and the shape he's in, he's clearly impressed by how Sheldon looks. I think he's as light as he's been in a while and is playing really well. And then the way that he praised Jordan Elliott for kind of just jumping right in and being something, just a really main part of his defense and really jumping into it, unlike a rookie might be afraid to. So I think Larry's confident in that group, and I think that they know that they could have that what happened at the end of last year just was as worst case scenario as it gets. And I think that group is ready. They came back hungry. Larry is in the best shape of his life. Sheldon's in the best shape of his life. And they know that with 95 on the field, that they're all the better for it. And then they'll certainly benefit from it at the start of the season.
Yeah. And again, as you mentioned it, right now, that's the deepest room on the defensive side of the football. So that is got positives written all over it because a year ago, that was actually not the case. All right. Looking ahead to Tuesday, you mentioned it. It's now a quick turnaround. We've gone from these afternoon practices. Now we're going to practice in the morning. Slated to start right around 11 a.m. Gribbs, it'll be interesting to see what the time change does to these guys. And everybody's always in such a, here's my agenda, here's my routine. I don't want to alter the routine. Well, now it's being altered a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see how these guys bounce back.
Yeah, and I wonder how tested they get from a physical level, because this will be going into a day off, and really you have practiced in a physical way less than you intended to this week. Because Sunday was intended to be maybe the most physical practice of camp. They're going to do tackling drills, do all this other stuff. So you lost that day mostly, even though you went through a smaller practice. But I'll be interested to see if they really test these guys, get them exhausted going into the day off and ready to get back to it on Thursday.
Yeah, and it will be interesting because you're going to have Wednesday off, 4 days of practice, off Monday, and then you start getting into a routine and in preparation. It's that last week of ramp up before we're officially in game week. So a lot to see, a lot to do. What do you want to see a little bit more from this offense, especially if we do go to tackling? This is a big week, I think, for Jedrick Wills, a guy to watch here as things start to ramp up and we start tackling.
Yeah, Jedrick today had his first penalty moment where he had a false start. Immediately had to jog to the sidelines and was replaced by Kendall Lamb. So that was a rookie moment in practice today. But yeah, I mean, I will say that the one we've maybe lamented a little bit about some issues in the passing game. I think the running game's looked fantastic so far. Running backs have looked good. Offensive lines look good, blocking for the run. I think the Browns are okay in that department. So it's just I want to see more success through the air. You imagine that Jarvis will be out there because he wasn't practicing today. So you've got the full cavalcade of weapons. Let's start to see some movement and some successful 2-minute drills, I would say.
Yeah, no question about it. From the defense, obviously, and from the whole team, stay healthy. I would like a day where we're not reporting an injury. It's training camp. Things happen, but it seems to be coming in one big giant tidal wave on a daily basis. So let's hope that indeed is the case. And we're going to start seeing some of these younger guys, seeing what they can do on the back end, especially of this Browns defense. You can like and subscribe today to the best podcast available. Log on to clevelandbrowns.com or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/Browns. We are back with you after Tuesday's practice. For Andrew Gribble, I'm Jason Gibbs. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the best podcast available.